Hello crafter, today I'm going to show you how to crochet this pattern that I am calling the new Heights Crochet Scarf. And I'm calling it that because I designed this pattern specifically for Lion Brand's Ferris Wheel yarn. The colorways, the texture, and just the weight of this yarn make it so perfect for this project, but of course you can use any other similar weight yarn for making this project. This is the scarf I had mentioned in a previous video where I showed how to add tassels to the ends of your scarves. And I was originally planning this as a written pattern that would be available on Etsy, but to achieve the beautiful textures of this scarf, I use a lot of kind of unconventional techniques. So it didn't work so well for a written pattern, was a little confusing, and I figured I would just do a video tutorial teaching this pattern. For this project, you will need one skein of Ferris Wheel yarn. It's about 270 yards, and we are going to use all but maybe the last yard or so of the skein of yarn. So if you want a longer scarf, be sure to grab an extra skein. And also I'll pop up with dimensions for this scarf on screen. So you'll need that yarn and then a size J 6mm crochet hook. For this tutorial, since I'm not actually making a whole other scarf, I'm going to be using some Caron Simply Soft yarn to illustrate. And yes, I know I'm designing this pattern specifically for this yarn, and now I'm doing a different yarn in the tutorial. That's so that way it will show up better. I didn't want to buy more of the Ferris Wheel yarn, and it doesn't unravel as well, so I figured I would go with this Caron Simply Soft for the sake of illustration. To start this project, I'm going to get a slip knot on my hook and begin by chaining 18. So 1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16,
17, 18. And now for my first row, I'm going to skip the first chain and then work 17 single crochet across. And if you want, you can crochet in the back nubs versus the V part of your chain. I'm going to work in the back nub, but you can work normal. So I'm going to skip my first chain, and in the second chain from the hook, I'm going to work a single crochet. So that's my first single crochet in the next chain, so that's 2. Single crochet in the next chain, and do this all the way down, and we'll end up with a total of 17 single crochet stitches. So I've worked my 17 single crochet stitches for row 1. Now I'm going to turn, and we're going to start working on row 2. So row 2, we're going to do this kind of funky stitch that's called an alternative turning chain. I'll link to a video explaining it more in depth up there, but I'll show you all the steps here in this video as well. So in this very first stitch from row 1, we're going to work an alternative turning chain to a height of 3. And the alternative turning chain is essentially some single crochets stacked up on top of each other. We're going to have 3 in our case. So to work this, I'm going to insert in my very first stitch from the previous row, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. So it's basically like working a single crochet stitch without doing a chain beforehand. And we'll end up with these 2 vertical strands of yarn running kind of up and down. And we're going to now work a single crochet under the left vertical strand. So I'm going to insert my hook underneath that left vertical strand, inserting from right to left, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So basically we worked a single crochet in that left vertical strand. And now we will repeat this one more time, working in the left vertical strand of the stitch we just completed. So find the left vertical strand right there, insert underneath it from right to left, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And that's how we complete the alternative turning chain stitch to a height of 3. Then we're going to skip the next 3 stitches, so 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th stitch, we're going to insert our hook and slip stitch. And now we're going to repeat this along. So to finish row 2, in the same spot where we just worked a slip stitch, we're going to do another one of those alternative turning chains. So that's where we insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, then find the left vertical bar of the stitch just completed and work a single crochet in there. So insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then one more time in the left hand side of that section just completed, insert our hook underneath from right to left, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. That completes the alternative turning chain. Skip 1, 2, 3 stitches, and in the 4th stitch, insert our hook and slip stitch. We'll do this a total of 4 times across. So I'm going to work the alternative turning chain. So that's to a height of 1, to a height of 2, to a height of 3. Skip 1, 2, 3 stitches, and in the 4th stitch, work a slip stitch. Another alternative turning chain, so yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Working under the left vertical bar, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Again, working under the newly created left vertical bar, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th stitch, work a slip stitch. So that creates essentially these little stitches that kind of stick upwards, and it's going to create these horizontal stitches that stick out in the front of the scarf. Moving on to row 3, we're going to start by chaining 2 and then turning our work. Now for row 3, we're going to work in the tops of the stitches from row 1. Sometimes we'll work around the stitches from row 2, sometimes we'll work in front of them, but we're always going to insert our stitch into the tops of these stitches from row 1. So the row 2 stitches are kind of separated, so that's how you can find the stitches from row 1. So right here is where I slip stitched in the top of my first stitch from row 1, and in this spot right here, I'm going to work a double crochet. And I'm just going to work around these stitches from row 2. So I'm going to find that spot where I slip stitched into row 1, insert, and work a double crochet in that spot. Then in the next stitch of row 1, I'm going to work a double crochet, but this time I'm not going to work around the stitches from row 2, I'm going to work just in row 1. So here's what I mean. So I'm going to yarn over. This right here is the next stitch of row 1. I'm going to insert, but I'm going to keep my hook to the front of these stitches from row 2. I'm not going all the way to the back, so make sure your hook sits in front of the stitches from row 2. With it sitting in front there, I'm going to complete my double crochet. So yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we've worked the stitch into row 1, and row 2 is kind of sitting on the back side of that stitch just worked. So for our next stitch, we're going to work it in the same manner, where we work into row 1, but not around row 2. So working in row 1 in front of row 2. And our next stitch is going to be a double treble, so that's where we yarn over 3 times. Insert in my next stitch from row 1. Again, I'm keeping my hook in front of the stitches from row 2. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 to complete that double treble. Then we're going to do a double crochet in the next stitch of row 1, again working in front of row 2. So I'm going through just the stitches of row 1, keeping it in front of row 2, and work just a normal basic double crochet stitch there. And then to finish off the repeating pattern in the next stitch of row 1, so that's right through here, I'm going to work a double crochet, but this time I'm also going to work around that slip stitch from row 2. So I'm going to yarn over. This is my next stitch of row 1, insert through there, and this time I'm inserting all the way to the back side and bringing the stitches from row 2 to the front of my hook. So I'm working around the stitches of row 2 into row 1, and then complete the double crochet. So yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then I'm going to repeat this. So in the next 3 stitches of row 1, I'm going to do a double crochet, double treble, double crochet. And for these 3, I don't work around the stitches from row 2. I'm working in front of the stitches from row 2. So with this double treble here, when I insert my hook in the next stitch of row 1, I'm keeping it in front of the stitches from row 2 to work that double treble. And then when I get to my next double crochet, again, I'm going to keep my hook in front of the stitches from row 2. So insert in the next stitch of row 1, keep it in front of the stitches from row 2, and complete that double crochet. And then in my next stitch, I'm going to work a double crochet into row 1 still, but around the stitches from row 2. So I'm going to insert there, that's the top of my stitch from row 1, and I'm going to work around this stitching from row 2. And I'll repeat that 2 more times to complete row 3. So this is the back of row 3. I'm going to go ahead and turn it, and if we look at it from the front side, we're starting to get the nice texture. So we've got row 2 here sitting horizontally in the front. The double trebles from row 3 are creating these little bumps there. And you can see we've worked behind row 2, and then every 4th stitch we worked around row 2 as well. Now for row 4, we're going to do a repeat of row 2. So this is where we start in our very first stitch. We work that alternative turning chain. So that's where we stack the 3 single crochets on top of each other. And this is my 3rd one here. Skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th one, slip stitch. And repeat that across 4 times total. So I've completed row 4, and now it's time for row 5. And row 5 is really similar to row 3 as far as where we work the stitches, just this time we're going to do all single crochet across. So to start row 5, let's chain 1 and turn our work, and we're doing all single crochet across, and we're working into row 3. So for my first stitch, I'm going to work in this first stitch of row 3. In this first one, we work around the stitches from row 4, and just work a single crochet. Then for my next 3 stitches of row 3, I'm going to work a single crochet in each of them, but this time I'm not going to work around the stitches from row 4. So this is my next stitch of row 1, and I'm keeping my hook to the front of the stitching from row 4. Work a single crochet. In the next stitch of row 3, insert my hook. Again, don't go behind row 4. Keep it in front of row 4. Work a single crochet. And then this next stitch of row 3, work a single crochet. And then in the following stitch, we're going to work a single crochet as well, but this is the one where we work around the stitching from row 4. So I'm inserting in the top of a stitch from row 3, but I'm working around row 4 to complete the single crochet stitch. And now repeat. In the next 3 stitches of row 3, I'm going to work a single crochet in each of them, and we're working in front of the stitches from row 4. So that's 1, 2, single crochet, a 3rd single crochet. Again, working all of them into row 3. And now for this 4th single crochet, we're going to again keep working in row 3, but we'll work it around the stitches from row 4. So our hook goes all the way through to the back side for that single crochet. And then I'll repeat this 2 more times to finish row 5. So I've completed row 5, and to start row 6, I'm going to turn my work. And if we look from the front here, we can see the horizontal bars forming from rows 2 and 4. And then row 3, we have those little bumps from the double trebles. So row 6, we're going to start with an alternative turning chain to a height of 2. And this is going to count as a double crochet. So this stitch is worked the same way we worked those stitches in rows 2 and 4, just this time we're only going to a height of 2. So in my first stitch from row 5, I'm going to insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. That's a height of 1. Then in the left vertical bar of this stitch, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Now it's a height of 2, we're just going to leave it be. So our repeating pattern for this row is we're going to work a double crochet in the next stitch, and we're working in the stitches of row 5. Then we're going to do a treble cluster. So we're going to do 5 treble stitches clustered together. So to work this, we yarn over twice, insert in the spot where we're working, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and stop while we have 2 loops on our hook. So that's the first out of 5 for our cluster. So we'll do that again, yarn over twice, insert into the same spot where we worked that start of that previous treble, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then stop. So that's 2 trebles in the same stitch, and we're going to repeat that until we have 5 trebles worked in that same stitch. So we're basically working trebles, but we're not doing the final yarn over and pull through 2, so that we're leaving a loop on our hook. And then that's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, all in the same spot. For my 5th one, again, same thing, yarn over twice, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now I will have 6 loops on my hook, and to complete this cluster, I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 6 loops on my hook, and that'll bring the cluster together and will cause it to form this little kind of bubble shape. And then in each of my next 2 stitches, I'm going to work just a normal double crochet. So double crochet in my next stitch, and double crochet in the following stitch. In this little cluster, I can push it to the front and it will bubble out to the front, creating this portion of the texture. And then I'll repeat that 3 more times across the row where I work a double crochet, then that 5 treble crochet cluster all in the same stitch. So this is my first one where I don't do that 3rd yarn over and pull through 2 yet. I'm going to work a second one, so these are treble stitches, working them all in the same stitch. My 3rd one, yarn over twice, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over twice for my 4th one, insert and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, whoop, pull through 3 that time, pull through 2, pull through 2. For my 5th one, yarn over twice, insert in the same spot there, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then to finish it all off, yarn over, pull through all 6 loops, and then double crochet in each of my next 2 stitches. So 1 and 2, and then I'll repeat it 2 more times to finish this row. So once you get done with row 6, you might need to push those little treble clusters to the front to get them to pop out. Mine tend to pop out to the back, but we want them to show the texture on the front of the scarf. It'll look a little something like this so far, and now it's time for row 7. And row 7 is a little bit goofy, but this is the last really goofy thing for this project, and then we're going to get to some repeating stuff. And in row 7, we're going to create these horizontal stitches that go between the little bubbles from row 6. So to work row 7, I'm going to chain 1 and then turn my work. So after we chain 1 and turn our work, the first stitch is what I'm calling a back post treble variation. So it's going to be like a treble crochet where we yarn over twice, and it's going to be a back post, so we're working it on the back side of our project, but it's a little bit different because we're not going all the way around a stitch. Instead, we're going to insert through some of the strands of yarn from stitches versus going all the way through the fabric. So I've got my 2 yarn overs on here, and then I'm going to look at the back side of my fabric, and I want to find that single crochet from row 5 where I worked around row 4. So if you look, it's these 2 little bars right there, and that's where I'm going to insert underneath. So I'm going to find that, and this doesn't have to be exact as long as you land in the general ballpark. So if your stitches are tight like mine, it might be a little tricky to get it under there. But I'm going to insert underneath these 2 strands of the single crochet from row 5 that are worked around the stitches from row 4. So those 2 little stitches right there. And now we're going to complete the back post treble the same way we would complete a normal treble. So I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then we can come back to the side of the work that we're working on. So again, that was all done on the back side of our work. And that counts as the first stitch of row 7, so we're not going to work anything in the first stitch of row 6. We're going to skip that stitch. And then in the next 3 stitches of row 6, we're just going to work single crochets. So this is the back post treble I just worked. This is the first stitch of row 6 that I'm skipping. And this is the second stitch of row 6 in which I'm going to work a single crochet in the next stitch of row 6, and that's going to be the top of that treble cluster, and then a single crochet in the top of the next stitch from row 6. And now we're going to repeat that process where we're going to do that back post treble kind of thing, skip a stitch, and then work 3 single crochets. So I'll show you how to work this again. So yarn over twice to get started for our back post treble. So yarn over twice, and then I'm going to keep track of this next stitch. We're going to skip that stitch, but that's going to indicate where to work in the row down below. So if I keep track of that stitch and then go down, so that's row 6, down to row 5, right here, I see these 2 little vertical bars. That's the front of my single crochet from row 5, and that's where we're going to insert. So I'm going to insert from right to left underneath that right vertical strand, right there, and then underneath the left vertical strand, right there. And that's where I'm going to work this stitch. So now all I have to do is finish it up like a normal back post treble, where I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So this is the side we're working on. This is the back post where we positioned the base of the stitch. So come back to the side we're working on. This is the stitch I'm going to skip, and then in the next 3 stitches work a single crochet in each of them. So single crochet, my second single crochet goes into the top of the treble cluster from row 6. So single crochet in the next stitch, and then repeat that again. So again, if you're not quite sure where to work, we're going to keep track of this stitch. We're going to skip it. We're not going to actually work in the top of it, but we're going to keep track of it. Look on the back side of our project, and if we follow this stitch down, we find those 2 little bars there from row 5. That's where I would work my treble, and then 3 single crochet. That's where I would work my next treble, and then 3 single crochet. So let me work that across, and then I'll show you how to finish this row. So here we are nearing the end of row 7. I worked that repeating pattern 2 more times, and that repeating pattern is that back post treble, 3 single crochet, back post treble, 3 single crochet. And now I just have 1 more stitch for this round. So this is going to be another back post treble variation. So again, yarn over twice, and then we're not going to work in this stitch here. That's the last stitch of row 6. But we're going to look on the back side of our project and find this very last single crochet right here on the edge. You can see these 2 little vertical bars right there. I'm going to insert underneath those from right to left. So that's my rightmost bar, and then underneath the left bar. And this is that single crochet from row 5. Again, my stitches are a little tight when I do single crochets, so remember to work them loosely so you can work underneath them in this row. And then complete the treble just like normal. So yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then we'll flip this back around to the side that we're actually working on, because remember that's worked on the back post side. And then to finish off this row, we're going to chain 1, and then find the very last stitch of row 6, that's this guy right here, insert in the top of that stitch, and slip stitch. So it's a yarn over and pull through everything. Now it's time for row 8. For row 8, I'm going to first turn my work, and I'm going to find the top of this last back post treble from row 7, and in the top of it, I'm going to slip stitch right there. Once I've done that, I'm going to repeat rows 2 through 4 exactly the way we worked them at the beginning of this project. So it's going to be a row with the horizontal, then the row with those double crochets and that double treble where we work behind the stitches from the previous row, and then every 4th one work around the stitches. And then once we repeat rows 2, 3, and 4, I'll show you how to work the last little bit, and then you will know all the parts to this project, and we'll just need to keep repeating. So rows 1 through 10 of this project are basically this section that's the block that's kind of more filled in. Now we just need to work rows 11 through 14, which is this more open section. I'll teach you row 15, which is the setup, and then you just repeat until you don't have enough yarn left, and then if you want, you can add tassels, and I'll include a video link up there to show how to add tassels if you want to add those. So let's learn how to work rows 11 through 15. So this is where we're at. We just worked row 10, which is these alternative turning chains that kind of sit away from the fabric. So now let's work row 11. So it starts with a chain 2, and then we're going to turn our work, and then we're going to work our stitches for this row into row 9. So all these rows with the alternative turning chains that sit to the front, we treat them similarly, where sometimes we work around the previous row and sometimes we work in front of the previous row, but we're always working in the tops of the stitches 2 rows below. So for row 11, we're going to work into row 9. So I'm going to start by working a double crochet into the top of the first stitch from row 9, and this time we're working around the stitches from row 10. So this is just a basic double crochet. Then we're going to have a repeating pattern. We're going to chain 1, skip the next stitch of the row 2 rows down, and in the following stitch of the row 2 rows down, we're going to work a double crochet, but we're going to work in front of the previous row. So the hook sits to the front of this alternative turning chain, not behind it. So make sure your hook's to the front, work a double crochet, chain 1, skip the next stitch of the row 2 rows down, and then in the following stitch, work a double crochet. Again, we're working into the row 2 rows down, just this time we're going to work around the previous row as well. That's just a double crochet. So now I repeat. So chain 1, skip the next stitch of row 9. In the following stitch of row 9, work a double crochet, but work the double crochet in front of the stitches from row 10, not around them. Work that double crochet, chain 1, skip the next stitch of row 9, and then the following stitch of row 9, work a double crochet, and this time work around the stitching from row 10. And repeat that 2 more times. So that's row 11, creating this open, more lacy section. So now let's move on to row 12. For this one, we're going to start by turning our work. And to create our first stitch, we're going to do an alternative turning chain to a height of 2. So that's where we insert into the top of the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's a height of 1. Then insert under that left vertical strand, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. That's the alternative turning chain to a height of 2. This counts as a double crochet, and now we have a repeating pattern. Chain 1, skip the next chain space, and work a double crochet in the following double crochet. And we will do that the whole way across. So chain 1, skip the next chain space, work a double crochet in the next double crochet of the previous row. Chain 1, skip the next chain space, work a double crochet in the next double crochet of the previous row, etc., etc. Work this all the way across to complete rows 12, and then for rows 13 and 14, we just repeat row 12. So I'm going to work through row 14, and then I will show you row 15. So this is row 11 here, then 12, 13, 14. Now for row 15. I'm going to start by chaining 1 and turning my work. And in this first double crochet of row 14, I'm going to work a single crochet. And then for the rest of the row, I'm going to work a single crochet into the chain space, work a single crochet into the double crochet, and repeat that all the way along. You'll end up with a total of 17 single crochet stitches once you get to the end. So work in every chain space and in the top of every double crochet from row 14 until you end up with a total of 17 single crochet stitches. Now that I've worked row 15, all that's left is to repeat this whole process, and we will have this filled in section, lacy section, and it will just repeat all the way down. If you're using one full skein of the Ferris wheel yarn like I did for this scarf, you will have this block that's solid and filled in. You'll have 11 of those blocks and 10 of these more open, lacier rows. And so essentially you'll keep repeating rows 2 through 15, of course ending with a block. And then once you do the last row of these alternative turning chains for your final block, you'll want to repeat row 5, which is a row of single crochet, just to give it a nice finished edge, and so that way your alternative turning chains sit on the front of your work versus just kind of sticking out the end. Again, you can also add tassels to the end of your scarf, but the tassels are totally optional. And just to reiterate, this took literally an entire skein. I mean, I had maybe a yard left of yarn, so if you know that you do want to make your scarf longer, you will need another skein of this yarn. But I hope y'all enjoy working on this project. I know I had a lot of fun designing it and working on it, and I love all the unique textures in this project. And I also want to say I really appreciate you watching my channel, and it would mean a lot to me if you were to subscribe to my channel and also like this video. And lastly, if you're making this scarf, be sure to comment what colorway you are using. This one here is the Wild Violets. I also made one of these in the color Summer's Day, and this yarn just works up so beautifully with this pattern. I absolutely love it. So be sure to let me know how this project goes for you, and I'll catch you in my next video. Happy crafting!